Lyn, welcome to the Razor's Edge, and thanks for joining me tonight. How are you, mate?
How are you doing? You good?
So where are you? Because your Skype says you're in Palma. Is that right?
Yeah, I live in Palma, Mallorca, in Spain. It's an island off the coast of Bar in the Mediterranean. So yeah, I've been living over here for like the last I don't know how long it is now, like 2 years, 2.5 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So all good with you?
All good, mate. Yeah, not too bad. I mean, to be honest, I mean we've just been put into lockdown as from yesterday.
Okay.
Again. so we're not far behind you guys, don't worry.
Yeah, bloody Groundhog Day, isn't it?
No. When's it gonna end?
Yeah, it's not that long since we at the Razor's Edge spoke to a member of Ingested. I think the Bearded Monkey spoke to Jason just ahead of when the album was going to be released back in August.
Yeah.
And they started off talking about the weather. So, being completely British, let's talk about the weather. How is it with you?
Actually, it's been pretty cold the last few weeks. To be fair, we don't get much winter over here.
Yeah.
But when we do get it, it doesn't rain, but it is equally as cold as the UK. But luckily, it doesn't last very long, so it should start warming up again soon. But it's dry,
Excellent.
which is good. What about you?
Stuff. Yeah, it's British weather on a January day over here. So we've had everything today, rain, and now it's going cold. So usual stuff.
Where are you based?
I'm down in Newport in South Wales.
Ah, okay. I used to live in Swansea. That was where I lived before I moved over here, actually. So.
Right. Because in the interview that Jason did, he referred to you as being from the valleys, and I knew that's a typical bloody English thing to say about a Welsh person when they don't know where they're from.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Okay, so when we last spoke to Jason, Where Only Gods was just about to land. I think there was about 8 days before the release. So obviously it's featured quite highly in a lot of people's lists over the year, the end of year stuff. And I thought it was a brilliant album. What was the overall response like for the band? Did you get the response that you were hoping for, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult because it's unusual circumstances. I mean, usually we'd release an album and then we'd be on tour for the best part of 6 months promoting the album.
Yeah.
So it was different because sometimes you get lost when you're on tour in the ether of just playing shows all the time and getting feedback from people face to face. So it was kind of cool to see it in a different way and actually just put all our focus online and just seeing how it's received. We had a lot more time to do press on this occasion. It's been great, man. To be honest, we've been blown away.
Great.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
the only thing we're missing is a few shows. That's literally it. But yeah, it's been great. It really has.
So when did you actually? So you recorded it because you were out on tour up until March when the whole shitstorm started, weren't you?
Yeah.
So had you already recorded it, or were you in the process of getting it together when it went tits up?
We tracked drums and vocals together in December. So basically, we were touring all last year, towards the end of the year, and we finished up. If I remember correctly now, we did we did a European tour, which finished in December. Then we went straight into the studio. We did drums and vocals together in Voyle Studios in Mid Wales. And then we had Christmas and went back straight out on tour. And I can't remember when we did guitars. We did guitars around that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already recorded, and we were getting test mixes back while we were in America in January. So yeah, we were kind of working remotely to get the mix done.
Sure. Great. Obviously, COVID put pay to your winter tour over here as well, because you had quite a good lineup set up, didn't you? You had a couple of bands coming over from the States and everything as well.
Yeah.
And I know that you've rescheduled that for later this year, but what's the latest on that? Have you got any news on it?
As soon as we know, then everyone else will know. I mean, we're hopeful it will happen, but you just can't see it in the future at the moment. It changes so often.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know, you go into 1 week. You know, I mean, I'm a big football fan. I watch the football, week in, week
Mhm.
out, and what 1 week there's fans in the stadium. There's 2,500, 3,000 people in the stadium. The next week it's lockdown again. You just don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the difficult thing about touring is that we're planning to go through, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, 8 different countries around Europe. So it becomes even more of a tougher task. But we're staying hopeful. But as soon as we
Yeah.
know, then everyone else does know.
Sure. Sure. Great. Well, hopefully you'll get there, because obviously I think you've got Bristol on the list, so obviously I'll be popping along to see you at that, but
Yeah.
sometime anyway.
We're desperate to play shows. So
Yeah.
as soon as we're allowed, we'll be there.
I haven't spoken to one musician who said, "Oh, do you know what? I'm really loving just creating music. Everyone is itching." I mean, the only challenge is going to be trying to find venues to fit you all in, I think. So.
The unfortunate thing is that a lot of these venues are starting to close down now as well because they just can't.
Of course. Yeah.
Everyone's been hurt in this industry, absolutely everyone. But I think
Mm.
I feel sorry for venues most because they have overheads that they have to pay for regardless.
Yeah.
So it's really sad.
No, I agree, because the Rock Bar, I don't know if you know Fuel in Cardiff, but you probably
Yeah,
do if
cool,
you're
yeah,
from Swansea. But they've
yeah,
been really stringent, but had managed to maintain it as a kind of bar through the summer and stuff, with bookings and lots of social distancing and at-seat service, all the stuff that you never used to get at Fuel, And
yeah.
of course they're shut down now and they got nothing. It's terrible.
I know, it's
It,
unbelievable. Yeah,
yeah.
the difficult thing is that you just can't see any end in sight. It's just.
No,
But
no, that's the problem at the moment. But we've just got to ride it, I suppose.
I'm feeling depressed just talking about
Yeah.
it.
So let's talk about the music. One of the things I'm really interested is when I speak to musicians is I've been lucky enough to be doing this for a couple of years and speaking to people. Are you one of those musicians that can actually listen back to an album that you've released within like the first 6 months and actually appreciate it, or do you, once you've got it done, do you never listen to it again apart from when you're playing it?
We're terrible. We love ourselves. We listen to ourselves all the time. We're completely shameless. I don't care. No, well, the only thing is that when you release an album is that it's already old for us by the time it comes out. So
Yes.
when people start listening to it, we're kind of finishing our cycle of listening to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll dip into it every now and again. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I loved one of the comments Jason said was, if you don't love what you put, if you're not your own favorite band, what is the point of doing the music? Because you're putting stuff out that you want. Yeah.
It's true. This is the thing is that, surely the whole point of starting a band is that you want to, there's no one doing what you like.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to listen to yourselves, then you've got no open for someone else to listen to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Agree there. So you did that stream in September, didn't you, from Manchester?
Yeah.
How did you find that, given that you are certainly, every time I've seen you, you're a band that feeds off the energy in the crowd. That must have been quite a weird experience, the old streaming.
Yeah, to be honest, for us it was just great to play a show again, just to be together.
Yeah.
That was, it was a blessing to be able to do that, especially in these times. But to be honest, Jay, our singer, after we did the stream, he was like, "My God, that was odd." Just
Yeah.
because, like you said, he feeds off the crowd a lot.
Mhm.
But to be honest, even I felt it at the back. It just felt like, I don't know, that there's an energy that people bring to a show that you can't explain it really.
Mm.
And it does help you flow through a set. So
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. It felt like we were more in a studio environment. It was strange, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, it was really enjoyable. We were just
Sure.
glad to play for people.
Yeah. But not something that you want to get used to, if at all possible, I'm sure.
It's always a good option to have, especially with things like. I think there could be a market for it, even when touring does come back.
Yeah.
Because when you think about when we were I don't know how old you were, but when we were growing up,
Older
things
than
like,
you,
but things like Top of the Pops and like Jules Holland and whatever,
yeah.
that those programs seem to have been lost recently. So maybe there's going to be a market for it in the future.
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be a combination. There's got to be some kind of funding stream because people are just, there's just not going to be the ability to do the kind of touring that may have been done before. So if people are willing to pay for a stream, like I watched the Behemoth stream, which was astonishing. I don't know if you've seen that, but that is worth a look. Absolutely crazy, but
as usual, they set the benchmark again.
Yeah, well, I think they've got a little bit of money behind them with Nuclear Blast, haven't they? So, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the reason. Obviously, we're back in touch with you guys, which is around the return to the debut, the Stinking Cesspool of Human Remnants. What's the thinking about reissuing that? Is it because it's the 15th anniversary and it's going out on vinyl for the first time?
Well, I mean, there is that, yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, when we were quarantined, we were kind of just sifting through like all our archive stuff because we've not had time because we've been on the road all the time the last few years. So we were just sifting through all our old drives and see what was on there. And I got into a conversation with the guy called Joe, who was in another band, Crepitation, who we released a split with originally in 2007. And he said, "Look, I've actually found all the stems and everything from the recordings. Do you want them?" And I was like, yeah, for sure, send them over. So we had to look through it and we were like, is there anything we'll be able to do with this? Because listen, we were 18 years old. We had no idea what we were doing. We were recording back then. Everything was just one take straight through. No editing at all. No double tracking vocal, just nothing. It was just as it was. We were like, right, what can we do? I've got a friend over here who lives around the corner from me in Palmer. He's a really, really talented engineer. He's worked on the last two Ingested releases as well. And I gave it to him and said, is there anything you can do with this to remix or remaster? It's 15-year anniversary next year. It might be nice to do something. So he was in quarantine and he put some work onto it and came out with that. We're blown away with what he did, to be fair. And so it was just it just all kind of fell into place, to be honest. 15 years, we found all the old stems and we got a guy who was willing to remix it. So yeah. And like you said, it's great for it to be its own standalone release for once, and to bring it out on vinyl. So yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah, sure. So how much? I mean, I'm not a musician, so I don't understand a lot of this. How much involvement do you actually have when it's remastered, or did you really give it over to your mate and your friend, and he did most of it? Did you have any input into it?
Yeah, I mean, we had quite a bit, to be fair. I mean, luckily, his studio is just not far from my house, so I was there most days. But we've got full confidence. He understands what we want to achieve with everything. So, but yeah, I mean, we had as much input as he did.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Great. And I've reviewed it for the Razor's Edge. It was out last week, and it's certainly interesting because obviously I'm more familiar with the latest album because that's the more recent stuff that I've heard. So you kind of go back in time a little bit, even though it's been remastered. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was quite cool to revisit, even for us as well. Just to even like check out the individual tracks and the recording sessions. Pretty cool.
And you touched on it about your memories of the original recording, which was like one takes and stuff. Was there? Did it bring back memories and you think, oh my God, I can't believe we did it like that? Or
100%. I mean, compared to how much we put into a recording process these days, it's night and day. It really is. We had no idea what we were doing. So I mean, to be honest, for Nico, our engineer, to get the result he did with the remaster was pretty unbelievable. If you hear the original.
Yeah, I'm sure. Brilliant. I love the fact also that obviously there's now quite big merch packages that come out with this, which is obviously one of the ways in which you guys can make a bit of money, I suppose. Do you have a lot of input into what goes into those merch packages? Are you totally in control of it?
100%. To be honest, myself and Sam, the other guitarist, we handle all the merch. Ourselves. I mean, obviously we're not talented enough to draw the art, so we commission the artwork out to lots of artists that we know. For this one, it was Shindy Design, who's a British artist. But in terms of like actually putting the merch together, it's down to me and Sam 100%.
Brilliant. And talking of merch, I mean, did you ever think when you started off when you were 18 that you'd be in a band that had scarves, jogging bottoms, and shorts as part of your merchandise packaging?
No, no. Thinking about it, actually, no. I mean, I still remember when we printed our first 30 shirts, and we had to borrow money from Sean's dad to do it.
Yeah, I bet. It's
so,
amazing. Yeah. So do you have this group discussions about what you're going to bring out? You know, you're going to bring out an apron or pair of socks or something next?
Socks, 100%. We tried to do socks for Christmas, but we couldn't get. There was a lot of delays with a certain stock, so we couldn't get them in time. But an apron, that's a good shout.
Yeah, I've got a Grand Magus apron. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Well, a couple of years ago, I went to see them, and their merch was 2 t-shirts and an apron. And I thought, well, I've got a t-shirt. I don't really want another one. I'll have to buy the bloody apron, you know.
I think it's got more use to the shirt, though.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And you've also got a merch store for Australia now. So have you got a big following over there then?
Well, do you know what I mean? To be honest, before the pandemic set in, we were supposed to go to Australia with Niall. It was going to be our first time down there. So we're pretty gutted that we couldn't make it down there. So we're hoping that there is a big following down there. But I guess we'll see when the numbers start coming through for merch. But it's good for us to when we have sales of albums, you know, we can see where people are buying them from. And it always felt really unfair when people were buying from Australia or New Zealand.
Okay.
Because they're buying from either our European store or our American store, and then they're paying through the nose on shipping. So again, like, if there's some things that came good out of this pandemic, the quarantine, is just give us time to actually reflect on, you know, doing things better logistically. So that was one of the things that we wanted to do straight away, was open an Australia store. So we're glad that we've done that.
Yeah. And would that? Sorry, you did say, would that have been your first tour of Australia?
It would have been, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's gutting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have control over the merch. Do you control all your social media as well?
Yeah. Again, myself and Jay. Do that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent.
So I mean, to be honest, Jay's been handling it mostly the last year, but he's been ill for the last few weeks, so I've taken it over. But yeah, generally it's us. But basically, we do if we can avoid paying someone to do something and we can do it ourselves, then we'll do it.
Yeah, sure. It's you're probably of an age where it comes quite naturally as well, though, aren't you?
No, the thing is that I wouldn't say we are. We're control freaks over what we want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it's not anyone else's band but ours. So if something goes wrong, we're accountable for it. You know, in the same way, whatever success we get, we're accountable for that as well. So it works both ways. But yeah, I mean, we're happy to put the work in. For us, it's delivering our music to the people who want to listen to it.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and that's the most important thing. You know, there's if you're in a band and you can't be asked doing that, then what's the point? You know?
No, absolutely. I'm just thinking that there's obviously a few, should we say, more mature musicians that clearly want to palm it off to someone else, which I can understand both ways. I mean, I find social media enough of a challenge as myself. So.
Oh, I mean, it's not fun by any means, but you know, I mean, to be honest, you know what though, technology moves so fast. I can see why a lot of people who maybe even like just 10 years older than us just maybe don't understand it as much as someone like us as we do. But then there's things coming out all the time. Like I see bands like on TikTok, and I'm like, I have no idea even how TikTok works. So
yeah,
you know, so I can understand it completely.
Sure. So, although 2020 sucked big time, you did have a couple of highlights from what I can see. You actually played Ukraine and Russia, so that must have been quite an experience for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we started the year. We did an Eastern European tour. We went into Russia. That was our first time in Ukraine and Russia, and we did Moldova as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. It was a nice way to start the year. It's just a shame it finished the way it did. But Russian fans are crazy, man. I don't even think most of them were watching the show. They were just beating the shit out of each other for an hour. But it was good for us though. It was good fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. You always think of it as the kind of I suppose the British fan has that kind of stereotype, about the Russians and the South Americans and all that. But I think from what I hear, most of what the stereotypes are formed on actual reality. So it's not us just making it up. It is what we've seen and what people have told us.
It's all true.
Yeah. Brilliant. So in terms of how you manage, if you live in Parma, do you just travel back and forth as necessary in normal times? Do you?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, we started touring full time about in 2018.
Yeah.
Which was around the time I moved to Spain because my girlfriend's Spanish, and I was living in Swansea at the time, like I said, and it used to take me 5.5 hours to get a train from Swansea to Manchester.
Yeah, I know that.
It used to cost me about 90 quid, 100 quid.
Mm-hmm.
To get a flight from Palma to Manchester is 2.5 hours, and I've never paid any more than about 50 quid return. So
yeah, makes absolute sense when you say it like that. But
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, let's just talk about a couple of other things, if that's all right. Some musicians that I speak to listen to lots of music of the same genre. Some are very versatile in what they listen to, and a couple of them don't listen to anything at all. What's your listening appetite like?
At the moment, I really, really like the Load album that came out last year. That was probably the one that stood out for me last year. I mean, to be honest, in terms of metal, I can take it or leave it. It takes something unique for me to like go back to it these days.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, when I was younger, same as the rest of the guys, we were proper, geeks over death metal. We were just like, we have to know every single band and every single riff and who's in what band, and we used to be so much like that. But these days, it takes something a little bit more to grasp my attention.
Yeah.
But that, in terms of metal, that is. But other things I listen to a lot of synthwave, which I know is quite popular in the metal scene at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to that. It just depends. Absolutely depends.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to look through my Spotify, but I can't seem to get it up.
No worries.
Because I never remember anything. I just chuck things on. Hangman's Chair, we like at the moment, which is kind of like a stoner sort of band from France.
Yeah.
They're pretty sick. But a lot of podcasts though as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to listen to, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
So what about when you got into metal in the first place? Were you actually in Swansea when you first got into it? Is that where you were brought up?
No, I was brought up in Mid Wales in a little town called Newtown.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I've got a friend that lives in Newtown. He was mentioning that he knew you when you were in the band that you were in before you joined Ingested. Decrepity, is it?
Decrepity, yeah. My God, let's go back. Amazing.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Gareth Pugh. Do you know him?
Oh, Gareth Pugh. My God, do you know what? I've not been back to Mid Wales in so long.
He's a bit older than you, mind, Lyn. He's nearly my age, so he's ancient. But never mind. I think he knew the band more than maybe you personally. But,
yeah.
So
I mean, to be honest. Go on, sorry.
No, go on.
Yes. So it was my dad's influence, to be honest. Like just going through his old records, growing up with Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Sabbath. Mm-hmm. Deep Purple, and then from there, I was kind of we all were in Ingested. We were all kind of prime age for that teenage new metal wave that came in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So from there we kind of got into bands like Slipknot, Korn. Slipknot Self-Titled was probably the first really heavy album that I heard.
Yeah.
And that kind of catapulted me into more extreme styles of music, and then you obviously get into Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Stairside, and then more into like brutal death metal, and it just kind of got heavier and more extreme as time went on. I probably peaked at about 21, and now I'm going the other way.
So what about the obviously as a drummer and a bloody good drummer who can drum in a particularly extreme style? Who are the major influences that persuaded you to pick up the drumsticks?
Firstly, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
100%. I think his style is just even today. His style is just one of the best around. Really metal wise, Nick Barker was a massive influence from Cradle of Filth and Durable Gear.
Yeah.
I always kind of like drummers that. I like drummers who were, back in the day who were fast and had a good technique, but I always stuck with drummers who I think can compose really well. Write memorable parts. It's not just about just playing fast or heavy or brutal or whatever. It is about making the drums interesting enough, but always doing enough for the song. Never overpowering the guitars. If there's something interesting going on the guitars, let the guitars breathe. One of the best I think for that is Inferno from Behemoth. I think he's an unbelievable songwriter. When it comes to like composing drums, he's absolutely phenomenal. So for me, that's always been the attraction more than how fast you can play or whatever. I mean, it's a nice tool to have in your locker, but creativity and song composing is more important for me.
Sure. And is there anyone who's in the death metal scene today? Maybe this is a bit of an unfair question because I'm asking you to name names, but is there anyone that is like up and coming that you think is going to be like a rising star, if you like?
Trying to think who I've toured with. The drummer from Cytotoxin is really good. It's a German band. They're fantastic. He's a really, really good drummer. I think I've toured with. Do you know, this is usually a really easy question to answer because I just go through all the drummers I've toured with recently because I've not been on tour for a year.
Sure. Yeah.
I tell you who's fucking great actually is the drummer from Last 10 Seconds of Life. They're an American band. They're from Pennsylvania, I think. The drummer's from New York. He's a kid. I can't remember how old he is. Maybe early 20s or late teens. And he is fucking phenomenal, man. Like he's one of the tightest drummers I've seen in years, and he's gonna go far, 100%. And he's got the right mentality and good work ethic.
Sure.
Fantastic, man.
Great, magic. Okay, so just to conclude now, a quick plug for the EP. It comes out when? Is it this week or next week?
Tomorrow.
That's right. I thought it was. There we are. That is this week. I listened to it a fortnight ago. I've moved on since then. It's old for me.
So we about 15 years ago.
Yeah. So if people want to pick it up, where's the best place for them to do it?
So if you're in the UK or Europe, you can pick it up from ingested.co.uk. If you're in America, you can pick it up from indiemerchstore.com.
Magic. And there's all the merch bundles are available on those links as well, yeah?
The merch bundles are exclusive to the UK store, so you can only get them there.
Brilliant. Okay, mate. Anything else you want to add?
Amazing. No, good. Just everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out our tunes, buying merch, buying CDs. Thanks for helping us out in the last year. It's been difficult, but our fans have made it a lot easier. So it's been great. Brilliant.
Well, fingers crossed that we actually get to see you on a UK stage in the near future.
Absolutely. Hopefully it may.
If you do get to Bristol, I'll make sure I come along and say hello anyway.
Absolutely. Hit me up for sure.
All right, mate. Okay, Lyn. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate.